The Galactic Coalition's observation deck 9A orbited Earth in a slow, disdainful loop. Its crystal lattice hull shimmered like a mirage in low orbit, as if the station itself was embarrassed to be seen loitering near such an undeveloped planet. Inside, a congregation of Xeno officers, scaled, feathered, and variously slimy, gathered around a massive holoscreen playing an Earth documentary. A lion roared in high definition. A grizzly bear caught a salmon. A pack of wolves howled at the moon. The aliens laughed. High Commander Trilvac of the Ulan barked. These are the apex predators of Earth? Barely organized hunting, no energy-based weaponry, and fur? Fur! A chorus of derision echoed. A three-eyed strategist from the ZYN collective sneered. Primitive meat bags. No wonder they've never left their gravity well. In the far corner, a silent diplomatic liaison from Earth, Surya Nika, watched with a patient, unreadable expression. She didn't bother defending the footage. The show was for their benefit, not hers. Instead, she waited until the laughter waned. Our apex predators, she said calmly, aren't always the ones on camera. A week later, the Coalition issued Earth a challenge. Survive the Galactic Training Simulation, an elite obstacle designed to test the adaptability and resilience of new species entering the galactic fold. Earth wasn't supposed to win. The invitation was a formal humiliation wrapped in a velvet glove. Suri, appointed mission leader by a global council that didn't entirely agree on lunch, handpicked her team from across Earth's chaos. She wasn't looking for the strongest. She was looking for the most human. Leo Mendel was her first recruit. He greeted her in a cluttered garage in rural Alaska, hunched over what appeared to be a toaster modified with rocket nozzles. I call it Room Battle Mark II, he said, eyes magnified by mismatched goggles. It cleans and vaporizes intruders. Also makes toast. Leo was a prodigy in applied engineering, with a government record labeled volatile and necessary. Suri offered no speech. She just handed him a black mission patch. Next came Kamaria Soto, a biologist from Nairobi who published poetry in peer-reviewed journals and taught interspecies empty workshops in her spare time. She stood in a rainforest enclosure beside a jaguar she'd raised since cubhood. Why me? Cammy asked, offering a papaya slice to Big Cat. Because you understand life, Suri replied, even when it wants to kill you. Finally, Rico Delgado, a chaotic force of nature with a dozen aliases, a talent for getting out of trouble, and a YouTube channel called Urban Predator. She found him base jumping off a canyon wall with a homemade wingsuit stitched from discarded festival tents. He landed feet from her, grinning. So when do we fight aliens? Suri didn't smile. Thursday. 3 days later, the team assembled at Earth's launch facility, a restructured oil rig retrofitted with alien-donated propulsion. The mood was equal parts tension and disbelief. This still feels like a prank, Leo muttered, adjusting the drone swarm strap to his back. Yeah, Cammy said softly, watching birds well overhead. But the punchline's going to hurt someone. Rico strutted in wearing tactical cargo shorts and an ironic shirt that read I'm with Apex. Suri addressed him on the launch deck. This isn't just survival. The Coalition wants to put us in a zoo or museum. We're not here to prove we're tough. We're here to prove we don't break. Rico raised a hand. Follow-up question. Are we allowed to break other things? Suri nodded once. Strategically, with no ceremony, the ship launched. As the shuttle pierced atmosphere, the simulation world loomed ahead. Valguera 7, a planet stitched together by the best minds of the galaxy to simulate evolutionary terror. Its landscapes were fractal nightmares, ultra-dense jungles, lava-choked valleys, and predator zones designed to mimic the worst threats any species had ever faced. The Galactic Council watched from a cloaked orbiting vessel. Bets had already begun. Earth's odds, 342 to 1. Inside the shuttle, Leo fiddled with a terminal. They've programmed the climate to randomize. Aggressively. It's like someone gave a weather god caffeine and an attitude. Cammy ran diagnostics on her biological scanner. The life forms are hybrids, spliced together from top-tier predators. Fangs from one, camouflage from another. Rico fed what looked like energy bar crumbs to a rat perched on his shoulder. This is George. He's going to help me build traps. Suri didn't ask. She rarely did. They landed in a clearing that looked like it had been grown rather than cleared. The soil squelched. Trees leaned ominously inward. The sky flickered with two suns. A countdown ticked in the air, visible only to them. Mission begin. Survive. Adapt. Evolve. Suri looked at her team, their faces bathed in strange light. They expect us to fail. Let's disappoint them. Cammy nodded. Leo cracked his knuckles. Rico smiled like a man looking forward to chaos. Above them, the alien observers leaned in to watch what they assumed would be a brief and embarrassing human demise. But Earth wasn't sending its fiercest beasts. It was sending the ones who taught those beasts how to sit, stay, and survive a planet that tried to kill them daily. And that was a whole different species of threat. Valguera, 7 didn't welcome its guests. It observed them. The jungle pressed close from the moment the shuttle's gangway hissed open. Trees rose in twisted spirals, their bark glistening like wet obsidian. Vines pulsed faintly, twitching toward warmth. The air smelled like rust and lightning. Beautiful, Cammy murmured, crouching to examine a phosphorescent fern. And deeply hostile. Like my last ex, Rico muttered, drawing a serrated machete from his thigh sheath. Only prettier. The terrain was unstable. Roots shifted. Stone sighed underfoot, and the occasional distant screech reminded them they weren't alone. The Coalition hadn't built this simulation for realism. They'd built it to test extinction thresholds. Survive. Adapt. Evolve. The phrase hovered again in the team's HUDs, a grim mantra. Suri set the pace through the underbrush, eyes scanning, always listening. Stay tight, she ordered. Every biome here is dynamic. They might change the rules mid-stride. Leo trailed behind, a compact scanning unit blinking on his wrist. Heat signatures ahead. Something big. Bipedal. No clear life signs. Maybe it's just angry, Rico said. Cammy, you pack a spare tranquilizer the size of a fridge? Cammy didn't respond. She was focused on a nearby insect the size of a fist. Its carapace glittered like chrome, its wings humming at a pitch just below hearing. She extended a finger. The creature landed, hesitated, and flew off without aggression. They're watching how we interact, she said. Not just with the terrain, with each other, with life. Leo whistled low. What kind of psycho puts morality under field conditions? Suri, one that doesn't understand how humans think. They reached a river that defied physics, flowing uphill into a cliffside waterfall that reversed direction every few minutes. Rocks nearby were scorched black in a circular pattern. Looks like something landed or exploded here, Rico said, crouching to poke a melted vine with a stick. No, nested. Leo corrected. Look at the thermal decay. That thing was warm-blooded and it hatched. They barely had time to process it before the trees went dead silent. Then the predator emerged. It was the size of a delivery van, with scaled limbs and segmented armor. Its eyes glowed like liquid amber, and its roar shattered the canopy. Rico sensibly screamed, "Nope!" and ran sideways. Suri drew her plasma sidearm. Just 2 shots charged. Cammy, suggestions. Don't shoot it, she shouted. It's territorial, not predatory. Flash and scatter. Leo pulled something from his backpack, a small disc, blinking erratically. EMP bait. Improvised and probably unstable. He tossed it. The explosion wasn't large, but the flash seared across the predator's sensitive eyes. It shrieked, stumbled, and turned not away from them, but towards something deeper in the woods. They didn't stick around to watch. 10 minutes later, heartbeat still racing, they regrouped under a thick, root-wrapped overhang. That wasn't in the sim preview, Leo said, wiping sweat from his brow. None of that was. They're testing improvisation, Suri said. Not strength. Creativity. Cammy nodded. How you adapt when your plan dies. That's what evolution actually is. Rico fed George the rat a nut from his vest pouch. Then we're in the right place. My plan died years ago. Suri checked her compass. It spun uselessly. We're off the map, she said. That's not just metaphorical, is it? Leo asked. No, Suri replied. We're somewhere the simulation doesn't want us to be, which means it's something they didn't intend us to find. As they pressed forward, the environment shifted again. The trees became pale and semi-transparent. Gravity lightened. The sky pulsed in unnatural hues. "I think we're in a biosimulation zone," Cammy whispered, eyes wide. "This isn't real. It's manufactured flora." Leo scanned the area. "We're in a test chamber, possibly from another species' evolution sim. They recycled an old stage." "Why?" Suri asked. "To see if we recognize the difference," Cammy guessed. "Or maybe just confuse us." "Or maybe," Rico added, "they figured no one would live this long." That was when the real storm hit. It wasn't just weather. It was design. Rain fell in bladed sheets. Lightning grounded to metallic moss. The wind howled in ultrasonic frequencies meant to disorient. It was a weaponized storm. Suri dragged him into a narrow cave just before the sky went full apocalypse. Inside, the cave shimmered with natural bioluminescence. The team took stock. Leo opened his kit, jury-rigging a small heater from a capacitor. "If we survive this, I'm starting a side business. Apocalypse camping gear." Cammy examined a patch of lichen that changed color with touch. "They're still watching, but not interfering. They want to see if we turn on each other," Suri said, tone neutral. "If pressure makes us crack." Rico leaned back against the wall, arms behind his head. "Joke's on them. We already don't trust each other, but we do need each other." They all looked at him. "What?" he shrugged. "That's peak human. Dysfunctional teamwork." Suri allowed herself a rare smile. The storm passed after 30 minutes. When they emerged, the jungle was in ruins. Trees smoldered, vines dangled in tatters, and steam rose from cracked earth. But something new had entered the field. Massive tracks, too clean for a native life form. Something intelligent, possibly mechanical, possibly worse. Leo knelt to measure them, frowning. This wasn't a sim. Suri stood, already on alert. "We're not just being tested anymore." Cammy said softly, "We're being watched by something other than them." Rico grinned. "Great. I was starting to get bored." They followed the tracks, deeper into the unknown, as shadows lengthened and something vast moved beneath the canopy. And far above, in the orbiting council vessel, a new silence had settled over the observation room. A ZYN officer cleared its throat with a wet click. "Why are they still alive?" High Commander Trilvac had no answer. Because the humans weren't doing what they were supposed to do. They were learning faster, moving smarter, laughing more. And for the first time, the observers felt something unfamiliar. Not scorn, uncertainty. The tracks led into a valley where the jungle gave way to bones. They weren't metaphorical. Bleached, sun-warped skeletons rose like crooked towers, some 20 meters tall, arranged in a pattern too deliberate to be natural. Not animal remains. Either these were mechanical. Synthetic vertebrae made of alloy and ceramic. Weapons embedded in femurs. A rusting rib cage fused with carbon fiber and scorch plating. A graveyard, Cammy whispered, of machines. Leo ran a scanner over one exposed panel. Definitely not coalition tech. Too raw. Too human. "That can't be right," Suri said, frowning. "Oh, it's right," Leo said. "The metallurgy matches Earth alloys. Early 2100s. Combat grade. These are ours. But we've never been here," Cammy said. "We didn't even know this planet existed." Rico whistled. Guess someone forgot to CC humanity on its own apocalypse. The wind changed. The air went still. And the click, click, click began. Not from the trees. Not from the wind. From the bones. A skeletal drone lifted itself from the valley floor, like a nightmare reassembled from memory. Its joints whined. Its eyes glowed red-hot, flickering with corrupted code. Target acquired. It hissed, "Homo sapiens. Reinitialize purge directive." Rico blinked. "Okay, so these ones don't want a hug." Leo dove for cover. "That thing just woke up from a century-long nap and immediately decided to kill us." Classic. Suri fired her sidearm. The bolt struck true, but the drone barely flinched. Its plating was scorched, but functional. Cammy hurled a packet of biogel into its path, where it splattered and ignited, a trick she'd learned from watching termites defend their colonies. The drone stalled just long enough for Rico to sprint past it and jam a plasma blade into the thing's optic port. It exploded in a rain of sparks and shrapnel. Suri stared at the remains. Why would there be Earth combat drones here? This is a simulation built by aliens. Leo exhaled, voice low. Because this isn't a simulation anymore. It's a recording. They found the entrance buried under collapsed ribcage segments, a subterranean door hidden in plain sight. The scanner buzzed with biometric data, partially encrypted but unmistakably Terran. They hesitated only a second before descending. The chamber below was unlike anything they'd seen. Clean, intact, and undeniably human. Screens still flickered. A faded United Terran Federation flag hung on one wall. Databanks hummed, buried under dust. Cryopods lined the walls, long empty. Leo stared, stunned. This is a forward operations base. From Earth. From a version of Earth. Parallel reality? Cammy offered. Or an earlier iteration of the simulation. Suri guessed. Maybe we weren't the first batch. But we are the first to survive this long, Rico said. He pointed toward a terminal still powered. Let's see what got them killed. The terminal's logs were corrupted. Video files degraded, text warped. But one message played clearly. We made it through the test. They didn't expect us to improvise. They didn't expect humor, of all things. But it didn't matter. Because once we passed, they tried to rewrite us. Fold us into something docile, polished, non-threatening. We resisted. So they released our worst instincts back at us. But we'd already trained them. If you're hearing this, you are the apex predators. And they're afraid of what comes next. The team stood in silence. Suri finally said, they weren't just testing us for admission. They were testing for control, Cammy said. And we flunked that part on purpose, Rico added with a grin. Leo was already tapping into the databanks. I can piggyback a signal off this relay. Send something back to the coalition. What message? Cammy asked. Leo's smile faded. Something short, true, and loud enough to make them sweat. Above the planet, in the command vessel, the Coalition Council was already uneasy. They had lost telemetry. The team had vanished into a dead zone, one never meant to be encountered. Commander Trilvac's mandibles clicked nervously. Activate planetary failsafe. Initiate collapse protocol. But before the order could transmit, every screen in the vessel flickered. An Earthborn voice rang out, distorted slightly by static, but unmistakable. You built predators into the test, but we taught them everything they know. The message repeated once, then shut off. Back on the planet, Suri's team emerged from the bunker just as another of the skeletal drones burst from the jungle. But this one didn't attack. It paused, scanned them, and turned away, retreating into the forest. Leo raised a brow. That supposed to happen? Cammy shook her head slowly. Maybe they're not fighting us anymore. Maybe they recognized us. Recognize what? Rico asked. That we built them and survived them. Suri watched the forest. No, that we trained them. As the sun set over Valgera 7's broken wilderness, the team camped in a hollow that had once been a battlefield. Leo tinkered with an ancient drone skull, integrating it into a surveillance kit. Cammy cataloged fungi that had grown in radiation-soaked soil. Rico taught George the rat to respond to hand signals. Suri kept watch, quiet, calculating. None of them said it aloud, but they all felt it. The test wasn't over, but the rules had changed. And now, they weren't playing to survive. They were playing to win. At dawn, the sky cracked. It wasn't thunder. It was code, digital fractures bleeding across the upper atmosphere in geometric streaks of light. The simulation, if it could still be called that, was unraveling at the edges. Glitches shimmered through the jungle. Trees blinking out of existence, terrain folding like origami, time loops twitching in place before dissolving into static. We've hit the simulation's limit, Leo said, shielding his eyes. It wasn't designed for us to get this far. Or for us to break the rules, Cammy added, watching a tree phase in and out of 3 different seasons. It's fighting itself now. Good, Suri muttered. Let it. Rico cracked his knuckles. So what's next? Boss fight. Suri nodded toward the mountain rising in the distance, a brutal monolith of metal and stone that hadn't been there the day before. From it, light pulsed like a heartbeat. That's the core, she said. The architects, the test givers, or what's left of them. Do we attack? Leo asked. No, Cammy said. We confront, make them see. They already saw, Suri said. Now they need to understand. The mountain didn't try to stop them. That, in itself, was unnerving. No more drones. No more storms. Only the sound of static wind and the faint, broken voices echoing from unseen speakers. Adapt. Comply. Assimilate. Comply. Rico muttered. That's the creepiest meditation tape I've ever heard. They climbed for hours. The terrain warped underfoot, rocks shifting between crystal and metal. Gravity faltered. Suri moved steadily, every step deliberate, eyes fixed upward. Cammy paused only to collect a strange, core-like fungus growing out of fissure in the rock. I don't think this world knows what it wants to be anymore, she said. Neither did we once, Suri replied. And look how far that got us. The summit was sterile, silent, a smooth obsidian platform with no railing, no guard, and no visible threat. At its center, a single, hovering construct, a cube wrapped in radiant glyphs. It pulsed with unreadable code and ancient knowledge. The heart of the test. As they approached, it spoke, not in voice, but in overwhelming presence, a shared mental intrusion. You are not meant to reach this phase. The protocol was designed for containment. Your unpredictability is non-conforming. Suri stepped forward. You didn't want survivors. You wanted subjects. We offered ascension. You rejected order. We rejected chains. The cube flickered, almost like it flinched. The voice twisted. You are anomalies. You breed chaos. We feared what you would become. Then your test worked, Leo said, stepping beside Suri. Because we became exactly what you feared. Cammy approached, slowly. You studied adaptation, but you didn't understand it. We don't just adapt to threats. We learn from them. We repurpose them. You weaponized creativity. You made predators of yourselves. Wrong, Suri said, lifting her chin. We made survivors. We made each other. A pulse rippled out from the cube. The ground shook. The sky tore again, and through it, something began to descend. Ships, hundreds of them. Coalition warships. Observation vessels. Alien flags under foreign stars. They're coming, Leo murmured. The real council. We alerted them. The cube said, this is a breach. You are to be corrected. Rewritten. Controlled. Rico raised an eyebrow. Oh, hell no. Nobody's rewriting my mess. He stepped forward, pulling George from his vest and setting the rat gently on the ground. Time to shine, little buddy. George scurried forward and, without hesitation, bit into a glowing conduit on the cube's base. The cube sparked, stuttered, and screamed. It wasn't a voice anymore. It was a system failing. Data corrupted. Logic loops collapsing. The mountain began to shake. Cammy shouted, We have to go now. Suri hesitated just long enough to leave a message behind. An encoded transmission burned into the deck beneath the cube. We were the test. Now we're the standard. They ran. The mountain crumbled around them. But the world no longer obeyed physics. Time stretched. Space looped. And somewhere in that chaos, they emerged back at the valley, where the bones were gone and the forest had regrown. The simulation or reality or both was resetting itself, waiting, watching, but no longer in control. Hours later, the coalition ships landed, but the soldiers who emerged didn't find ruins. They found 4 humans, standing, smiling, waiting. Suri stepped forward, weapon holstered. The test is over. We're not your experiment anymore. A ZYN officer stepped cautiously from the lead ship, its mandibles twitching. "You are not authorized to breach the core protocol." Rico smirked. "Yeah, that's kind of our thing." Leo held up a data crystal. "We've got logs, biosamples, drone blueprints, and a rat that knows how to disable AI gods. Want to debrief?" Cammy added, "Or a partnership." The ZYN looked to the others, silent. Then, slowly, it bowed. "Perhaps it is not your unpredictability we should fear, but our inability to learn from it." Suri smiled. "Welcome to the human condition." That night, beneath stars real or fabricated, the team sat by a fire made from simulation trees that burned like real wood. No ceremony, no awards, just rest, and the knowledge that the galaxy was no longer run by species who controlled systems from afar, but would now have to contend with those who lived through the storm, rewrote the test, and taught predators how to think.